Happy Thursday and welcome into the PHNX Sun Devils show. I'm Anthony Totri, joined as always by the one, the only Senor Rubis. That's right, Erik Ruby's in this chair, at least for right this second.
I'm going to transform into somebody completely different. In just a couple of minutes, you're going to want to see this.
Absolutely. We do have Arizona State assistant head coach Bryan Carrington joining us for, one of my personal favorite conversations that we have had here on the PHNX Sun Devils show. So make sure you hit that like button, you hit the subscribe button, and you drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Less than 260 subscribers away from hitting 50,000 right here on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. Rubis, this conversation that I think everyone is hopefully going to stick around for is something that I think when I first sat down with BC and kind of like tried to peel back the layers here, what we ended up getting and what we ended up getting into was far more than I think even I could have ended up imagining.
So I haven't seen it yet. And so I'm going to be watching this alongside everybody else. And I'm excited to watch, you guys peel back the layers. And this is somebody that has just elevated so quickly, obviously in his career and here in his time at Arizona State, and has just been such an integral part to why this program is to where it is right now. And if you're not subscribed because of stuff like this, if you're not liking because of stuff like this, if you're not in the Discord who knew about this early because of stuff like this, I don't know what to tell you. Because if you're an Arizona State fan and you're not tapped into everything that PHNX Sun Devils is doing here, you got to do that. I'm curious if the reason why you say it's your favorite conversation is because I wasn't here for it.
No, that's not the reason why.
Okay, good.
What I will say is
that it was way better.
Look, when we get guests and when we get coaches, we get players, whether we get them virtually or we get them in person, there is sometimes a wall that you kind of have to break down. And I feel like, again, it's not often we get somebody as talented at what they do as a Bryan Carrington in studio for a full hour. And for him to, again, kind of just go into the Texas to Tempe pipeline, into how he got started coaching, how he's bounced around from Houston to TCU to Texas to Arizona State, potentially what the future holds for Bryan Carrington down the line, today's day and age of college football. Like, there is so much of this interview that I'm excited for you guys to see, and we'll stop rambling here. Without further ado, this is Arizona State assistant head coach and defensive passing game coordinator, Bryan Carrington. We're joined now by Arizona State assistant head coach and defensive passing game coordinator, Bryan Carrington. BC, we appreciate you taking the time today, man.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Look, a lot I want to get into with you, as you've had just kind of a wild coaching career, how you got started and all that stuff. But I know for you, this past weekend, a big recruiting weekend, transfer portal window just closed, 3-ish weeks ago. I'm just trying to check in on your sanity, man. Like, how are you holding up?
I'm good. Like I told you earlier, it's a thrill in the chase in recruiting, but we reported probably the end of July, last week of July, and it's been nonstop from the last week of July till now. Obviously when you get a bowl game, I think the bowls were announced the first week of December. And when you get a bowl game, you get 15 more practices you got to script for. And then we played on the 31st. You got to practice in foreign territory and places that you're not familiar with. And then we came back and had like a 6-hour roster meeting. And then the next day, the portal opens. You got 42 official visits in like 10 days. And then you got to go on a rat race for 14 days on the road to go see the next class. So it's a lot, but vacation starts Wednesday. Be good.
So how long do you get like in terms of like not period of time off, but like because like you said, it's always going. You're
Yeah.
always going. But is there a section of the year where you're able to just kind of like disconnect and like get a mental reset ahead of the following season?
It varies by staff, but Dilly does a really good job taking care of us. In the summer we always look forward to summer vacation, which we'll probably get 4 weeks off. So that's something to look forward to. End of the season all depends on postseason outlook, and that kind of messes up your bowl game. If we would have played in the LA Bowl on December the 14th, we probably would have had a lot of time to kind of hit the reset button. But when we break, we break, and I try to get far away where football doesn't matter.
Because then it all restarts,
Yeah.
right? You got fall camp, and then you go do that entire thing again in 2026. Obviously, hoping that it's the CFP kind of like it was in 2024. Before we get too deep into the guys that are currently on the roster and you yourself, like I said, I know you guys had a big recruiting weekend this past weekend. I know you can't talk specifics as it relates to players, but just in terms of the feel for you and how you felt during that weekend and how you think maybe things are trending in that direction.
Yeah, I think it was great. I think the goal when we got here was to kind of make Arizona State sexy.
Yeah.
I feel like we've achieved that. Us making the playoff last year just created a lot more visibility for our brand. It's allowed us to cast our net out a little bit wider, and a lot of people that necessarily wouldn't be interested year one and year four, they are interested. They are inquiring. When we walk through these high schools across the country, there is a little bit more name and brand recognition with that Arizona State logo.
For you, and we talk about it so often where it feels like the fan base, it can be kind of so volatile of like this player came to Arizona State and then they left, right? That's success, that's failure. Or a player commits to Arizona State. If they commit, it's a success. If they don't, it's a failure. How do you kind of balance the fact that progress in recruiting isn't necessarily just kind of like that straight line of like, okay, all of a sudden we're able to capture these 4 or 5 star guys that maybe some of these other schools are able to do.
Yeah, you got to build a product that kids will believe in. When you first get to a program, you're really trying to establish, pipelines, with Texas to Tempe, with the Cali Devils, where we have networks established within our coaching circle. But as you continue to build a program, you're really just trying to out recruit last year, out recruit the cornerback room when I first got here. That was the goal, and now let's out recruit the room that we have now. So with success comes a little bit more recognition, a little bit more validity with those 4 and 5 star kids. When we first got here, obviously a lot of people from the outside had a specific reputation or assessment of where Arizona State was as a state of the union, which wasn't good.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to kind of dig ourselves out of that hole. Now we have a product, so people aren't even looking in the rearview mirror. They're looking forward as far as where is Arizona State going to be in these next 5 years.
You talk about the Texas to Tempe, and while we're talking about recruiting, that is something that over time Arizona State historically has kind of struggled to really get a foothold in that state. A lot of factors come in Bryan Carrington, and all of a sudden Texas to Tempe is a thing. Quarter of the roster last year was from the state of Texas. How proud of you, or how proud of that are you? And what really went into like the behind closed doors conversations of the Texas to Tempe movement? Because that's what it is.
Yeah.
I think a lot of folks see it as like a hashtag. They see a cool T-shirt and they're like, "That's awesome."
Yeah.
But like, there's definitely more that goes into something that is such a big push for a program like ASU.
I was very calculated, very premeditated. It was something that I kind of led with Dilly. In today's climate, everybody has a cell phone in their pocket, so the world is smaller. So proximity to home really isn't that critical of a factor nowadays with kids. And then you talk about kids being able to receive compensation. Now, if I'm an 18-year-old kid and I know I'm going to be compensated, now where do I want to live?
Mm-hmm.
This place is probably arguably the best place to have a social experience from 18 to 22 years old. So if I'm that young prospect and I'm looking at the outlook of where college football is headed, I feel like the next 30 years of football is not going to be like the last 30 years of football where you're just hoarding certain rosters. So for us to be where we are now, it's not just me getting off the Texas to Tempe pipeline. Every coach on our roster has a living testament example in their room of somebody that hails from the state of Texas. So now it's like such a big time effort just from a whole staff collectively. If AJ Cooper goes to Dallas and goes to recruit high school, he don't need me with him. He has Jordan Crook, who went to Duncanville. So there's so much validity from within our roster, within like we call it the buddy system. If anybody's seen the movie Heavyweights that came out in the 90s, buddy, from the portal from high school, if we feel like we have that kind of chemistry and people know each other, that to us is something that also pads retention when guys are kind of familiar with who players are. If I played this guy in high school, I'm familiar with him, or I knew this guy in high school, now he's in the portal, and now he's coming on our campus and he's seeing 20 plus, 30 plus guys from Texas, and he's trying to get his decision right this time.
Yeah.
It's so much more easier for us to get this thing off. And, nowadays, all it takes is one kid. All it takes is one kid to become 8, to become 22, to become 38. So now we have an opportunity to kind of get into other areas of this country and create pipelines. But I'm a firm believer, all it takes is one. If I get one kid from Louisiana, I get one kid from Florida, and he's having success here, why can't I go turn that into 4
That's it.
in 2 years? Easy.
For you, on the same note of Texas to Tempe, I mean, you spent so much of your early coaching days in Texas. You obviously went to Houston. For you, that's obviously got to mean a whole hell of a lot to really establish that pipeline here. For you, when I say or bring up Papa's Seafood Kitchen, what comes to mind for you?
The grind, the hustle, like nothing has changed. When you're in that restaurant, it's almost like balls to the wall, just like recruiting. Every day there's something different that just is dropped on your front porch and you got to deal with it. Same thing if you're in the weeds, in the restaurant industry or whatnot. So, I mean, that was really something that really brought forth my initiative, just from a customer service standpoint. And I feel like recruiting and customer service are like hand in hand.
Yeah. I mean, for the people that don't know, you were a bartender and now you're the assistant head coach at Arizona State in less than 15 years. Like, it blows my mind. I think a couple years ago when they did the media roundtable and they had all the coaches and media kind of going back and forth. And there's always stories of how coaches get involved in football, right? Of like, oh, their dad was a coach, or they knew a guy at the high school level and then worked their way up, something like that. I can honestly say I have never heard a story quite like yours, if you don't mind sharing for the folks at home that have never heard the story of really like the maybe not a random encounter, but how it started to come about for you. Let's cut to the chase. Everybody needs a checking account, but you want one that's got built-in benefits, that's got perks for you, and of course, it's at a place you can trust. Well, we've got just the place, Mountain America Credit Union. That's right. We're talking about their My Style checking account. But Totri, what about those perks and those built-in benefits? Well, don't worry. Restaurant deals, mobile phone protection, telehealth access, identity protection, loan rate discounts, offers on travel and events, and what more? More. You're right. I called you more. There you go. Look, make My Style your lifestyle.
I'm honored to be more.
America Credit Union. Make sure you visit macu.com/mystyle to apply. Insured by NCUA. Membership required based on eligibility. Some benefits require no cost registration/activation. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Again, make sure you visit macu.com/mystyle to apply.
There are things that we all know, right? We're all aware that Phoenix is already one of the best sports cities in America. But this spring, it's about to raise the bar to a whole other level. I'm talking about NASCAR, NTT IndyCar Series racing during the same weekend. And where are they going to do it? Well, of course, they're doing it at Phoenix Raceway, March 5th through the 8th. It's the kind of energy you really have to feel in person. But March 5th through the 8th, that's coming up. So you got to get your tickets now. The thing is, you've got a bunch of options. You can get the Desert Diamond Casino infield experience. I'm talking going inside the garage, walking the track, meeting the drivers, catching the pre-race concert, and more. No sport brings the fans closer. Plus, they have hillside views for the Cup race and race weekend packages that make planning easy. And you can watch the 2025 Cup Series champion Kyle Larson back where he just won it all a couple months prior. Watch history in the making. NASCAR and NTT IndyCar Series weekend at Phoenix Raceway, March 5th through the 8th. Secure your seats now in the link in our description and hear the cars go vroom.
Vroom.
Yeah, kind of like my pursuit of happiness. When you want something and you like live and dream it, you know, like you're willing to do whatever it takes to seize that opportunity, you know. And I'm a firm believer that talent is everywhere and opportunity isn't, and it's all about timing and being at the right place, the right time. I just feel like the stars kind of aligned for me, you know, being a bartender. I was always somebody that was enamored with college football, enamored with the recruiting, enamored with the roster management and talent acquisition. Whether or not when I was in college and bartending, I was still, you know, watching high school highlights, and whether it was football or basketball, just evaluating guys. To be honest, like this guy's a player, type deal. So I was sitting in class one day, and my professor David Walsh was in class, and he told all the students who wants a job when they graduate. You know, I raised my hand, right, and then he says, everybody keep your hand up. If you have experience in the job that you want after college, put your hand down. And so I put my hand down. And he was like, none of you guys are going to get a job unless you have experience. When your parents got a degree in the 80s, they got a job. Now it's ultra competitive and everybody has a degree. So what are you willing to do to get experience? You need experience right now. So right then, me having knowledge of the college football circuit, I knew Tom Herman was the OC at Ohio State and just got the job at Texas. So I shot a email in the dark to their recruiting department, to the video department, to the director of recruiting, and was like, "Hey, my name is Bryan Carrington. I've been following recruiting as an amateur. I feel like I'm a recruiting guru. I'm willing to offer my services for free. Here's my name, number, yada yada yada." And I was just showing initiative of me starting the semester on the right foot. Like I'm gonna do everything the teacher says, at least the first 2 weeks. Everybody intends to be that way, right? So I sent that email in, and I'm sitting at the crib watching sports, doing what I do. And I get a call from Adrian Mays, who was the director of recruiting, and he's like, "Bryan, I'm looking at your email here, and I think I want to meet you." And I was like, "When?" And he was like, "Can you come tomorrow?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And so I went tomorrow. I went the next day, and I met with him and a guy by the name of Dallas Blacklock, and they were basically like, "BC, like we like you, you know, but this ain't something that you're gonna say, hey, I want to help, and then 2 weeks later, your ass don't want to
Yeah.
volunteer no more. It is either all in or nada." And I was like, I'm all in." So while I was juggling 15 hours of school, I spent any time outside or in between the classroom, I was in that recruiting department. I started off folding envelopes. This was back before we sent kids graphics and stuff like that. So we would we print out 500 copies of spring ball schedule, and I would fold up all 500, put it in envelopes. And I was just excited to be a part of the process.
Yeah.
Here I am, the kid that was doing all this stuff behind the scenes at home, looking shit up on Rivals and, you know, 24/7 and all that other stuff. And now I'm actually a part of the process. And so now I'm on the assembly line. I may be at the bottom, but at least I'm
You're
getting
there.
closer to the game. You know, I used to sit in the parking lot and wave people down like, "Hey, park here." And I don't even get to enjoy the game until the third quarter. I see freaking fireworks shoot out the stadium. I'm like itching, like, damn, I need to be in the game, you know, or like um, started off I really had knowledge of the campus. These are guys that came from Ohio State that had nobody that knew campus. I knew campus. I used to party promote. I used to club promote,
Yeah.
and I used to bartend at the nightclubs. So like I knew all the spots on campus. I knew how to do the campus tours. I knew where the dorms was set up. I knew where the spots to get food at. So kind of organically, I became like the on-campus liaison. Anytime there was recruits on campus, BC, you got them. Throw me the cart keys. Like, damn, okay, take you around campus and whatnot. And slowly but surely, I was in class one day and my phone's like blowing up. I'm like, shit, am I in trouble? Like, what's my phone blowing up? And I'm like, I can't answer right now. I'm in class. So after class, I answer the phone, and Adrian's like, "Bro, where the fuck you at?" Ed Oliver's here. He's looking for you. I'm like, "I got class," and he's like, "Oh." Not knowing that everybody in that building is solely committed full time to
Yeah.
football, and here I am as a student, and they're like, "Okay, we got to juggle at least something," and so that was something that sparked in the back of my mind, like, "Damn, okay, they kind of needed me.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of, wanted me around a little bit more." And so from there, I used to do official visits. ABC is a hotel. ABC, we're going to Fogo de Chao. ABC, we're going to this steakhouse. I'm like, man, this is awesome. You know, let me just be a part of this process type deal. And slowly but surely, we signed the highest rated class in Group of Five history. We signed Ed Oliver. We signed like
Buffalo Bills edge rusher Ed
yeah,
Oliver.
interior defensive
Yeah.
line game record, Ed Oliver, and we signed three other kids: Courtney Lark, Marquez Stevenson, and De'Aaron King, who's the quarterback coach at SMU right now. And they were four ESPN top 300 recruits at the University of Houston committed. And so the very next year, we beat Oklahoma and Baker Mayfield and Joe Mixon and all those guys, D.D. Westbrook at NRG, and Tom was just on the hype train. Like Tom was like the hottest coach in the country
Yeah.
type deal. So I'm sitting in the office, and I used to never be a part of recruiting meetings. I'm just sitting in there folding papers, and I'd be like, man, I'd be better at my job if I knew what was going on in that meeting. I'd be better at my job. So slowly but surely, like, now I'm a part of the meetings. One time I'm just sitting there folding letters, and they're like, "Hey, BC, we need to holler at you." I go in there and holler at them. I'm thinking I'm in trouble, and it's Derek Chang, who was the director of recruiting at the time, and he was like, "Hey, bro, like basically, Coach Herman's not gonna be here longer, and we want you to come with us. Will you come with us?" And I'm like, "Absolutely, I'll go anywhere with you guys." Right? We were playing Memphis that weekend, and he was like, "I need you to stay home, and I need you to cut up some players and do some evaluations, and I'll tell you the school."
You're still doing. Are you still in college at this
Still
point?
in college. Still in college. And he's like, I said, okay, I'll cut up. They're about to go to the Memphis game, play Memphis. And they're like, I need you to go home and cut up everybody from LSU. And I was like, holy shit, LSU. Let me get out of here. I leave. I don't talk to nobody. I just go home. Right. So I'm just cutting up LSU. They leave to the Memphis game. Ticker at the bottom of the screen on ESPN. It's like Tom Herman's top target for LSU. And I'm sitting here calling my boys like, I told you I'm not in here bullshitting. I'm in here evaluating, right? So the next day, the game is. And you know how the reporters are talking to coaches before the game. They're talking to coaches before the game. They're like, Coach, what do you feel about these rumors from LSU? He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so I'm like, people are calling my bluff and whatnot. I'm like, trust me, bro. I'm telling you. So after the game, we end up losing to Houston. And Derek Chang calls me. And I'm like, hey, man, tough loss. I'm like, all this other stuff, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, how's it going with LSU? The guys, I was like, yeah, man, we got this dude, he's freaking beast. Got this guy, he's freaking good. He was like, okay, stop evaluating LSU players and evaluate Texas players. And I was like, sunk in my couch. Because I was like, I grew up the biggest Texas Longhorn fan, like VY, everything.
Yeah.
Like, and I was just like, oh, this is like surreal.
Life changing.
Life changing. And so it blows up. Tom takes the job, press conference the next day, freaking silence on my end. I don't know what's going on, but whatever they told me happened has happened.
Yeah.
So now I'm at Houston, and I'm in the office, and it's the rapture. It's like Tom's gone. Like, what do we do next?
Yeah.
Like all this other stuff. So like I see the coaches that are coming, and I knew a coach like Oscar Giles who coached at Texas under Mac Brown. I knew he was going to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just sitting in the office, still, folding up my papers and stuff like that. And I see OG come in his office. And I go in his office, I'm like, hey, you need help? You need help box some stuff up for you, take it to the car? And he was like, yeah, man. And so when we were like going to the car, he was like, I'm gonna tell them they need to bring your ass with us. They need to bring you with us. And I was like, yeah, coach, please. Tell them they need to bring me with us. So like 2 days pass, and I'm in the office, and I get a FaceTime by Derek Chang. FaceTime me, freaking got the Texas polo on, see the background. I go to a secluded area to talk to him. I'm like, man, nobody's told me nothing yet.
Yeah.
I'm in the office, and I ain't got no paperwork or nothing. And he's like, man, this place is special. He was like beating up like this place is special. And he's like, check your email. I check my email, and there's like a job offer, assistant director of player personnel, making like 47.5. Biggest figures I ever seen on the paper in my life. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, we did it. Only problem is I had another year to graduate college. I didn't care about all that. I got the job offer. So I was like, what am I gonna do next? That same teacher that I rose my hand to and put my hand down, I go knock on his door. Because he knew I was grinding. He knew I was a part of it and whatnot. And I'm just talking to him, and I was like, hey, I need your help. And I just pull out the letter, slide it on the table. It's the seal on there. I made sure I printed it out in color and shit. And he looks at it.
It's official.
And he sits back, and he's like, man, this is how it's done, Bryan. This is how it's done. I was like, but I got another year of internship. And he was like, don't worry about that internship. calls the dean and the president, and they graduate me on the spot.
Holy shit! On the
On
spot.
the spot, I go take the Texas job that Thursday. I come back 2 weeks later, and I'm walking at graduation with all of the other people that was in my sports administration class, sitting there like, what are we about to do next? And I'm here, offer in hand, ready to go to UT,
Dream
assistant
school.
director of player personnel. Like I was, I was loaded. I was ready.
Wildest 2 weeks of your life.
Wildest.
That's absolutely
Um,
insane. And just based off of that one interaction in that classroom
yes.
was enough of a like
Right place, right
that I gotta
time,
do
right
that.
message. Created a little initiative without me sending that letter. I don't get a call from Adrian Mays. I don't get to sell who I am as a person.
Yeah.
I'm still bartending at the clubs, promoting parties.
Wow. To Texas, obviously from Texas, stops at USC, TCU, Houston, obviously for you, like I think it's important for people to know that story because it's so much. I think when you first got hired at ASU, you had a tag tied to you. You had the he's a great recruiter, right? I think it was for you and Sam. I
Yeah.
think that was what people were great recruiter,
Mhm.
especially in Texas. And I think I remember Dilly. It was a couple press conference in. Was talking about he got asked a question I think about you and Coach Sam, and he stops almost on the dime and was like, "They're not just recruiters. Like they're great coaches. Period. The recruiting kind of
Yeah.
falls in with that." And I feel like for you, there's such the tie and the draw of like great recruiter, great relationship builder, which is I think a better way of saying that they can recruit, they can get
Mhm.
guys to come to the school. It's that like example right there of how you first got started, of
Absolutely.
like you built relationships to a point where it's like, here you go, you're still in college.
Absolutely. I feel like if you can build relationships and you can communicate, you can teach. It is not overly complicated.
Yeah.
If you can communicate, if you get a really good relationship builder, if you understand people, if you can put yourself in other people's shoes, I mean, the coaching aspect is the easy part.
Yeah. Unreal, an absolutely unreal story, and it's led to you again, assistant head coach at Arizona State, defensive passing game coordinator for the Sun Devils. Somebody in yourself that has signed, I want to say 11 to 12 5 stars throughout your coaching career at this point in time. One of them being Bijan. Um, I know Arizona State fans probably not too happy to hear that one, the Bijan to
Yeah.
Texas one. For you, man, and we'll really hunker down into the Arizona State stuff here in a second, but I feel like it's only natural going off of that incredible story. Like where do you want to be in 10, 15 years? And I know that's
Yeah.
sometimes a loaded question, but given where your career started and how fast you've really kind of blown through the
Yeah.
competition, like where do you want to be?
Yeah, I feel like it's my journey is more impressive to people that don't know me.
Mm-hmm.
It's more impressive to the stranger. It's not that impressive to me.
Yeah.
I'm a dreamer. I continue to dream. Like I'm not gonna ever stop dreaming. You know, I'm an assistant head coach now. I do want to be a head coach one day. You know, and then when I'm a head coach, I want to be the president. You know, that's how my mind works.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not content with anything. I've made it a long way. You know, but to me, I still have so much farther to go. You know, for me, I knew I can do more when I was in the recruiting department at the University of Texas. I knew I could do more.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to just be this old recruiter guy that just grows gray hair. I want to vertically integrate within the corporation. I want to, if I can, Clay Helton, when I went on a visit, and this is why I left Texas to go to Clay Helton. Clay Helton set me in his house in PV and looked at me and said, "Hey, if you add coach to your name, you're going to change your life." And so that stuck with me, from that point. And I told Clay Helton in 2 years I would get my opportunity. Obviously, he got let go when I
Mm-hmm.
first got there, but the timeline of 2 years led me to Arizona State. So it was being uncomfortable is something that I kind of thrive with. I could have stayed in the recruiting role forever, I
Yeah.
think. But I like to challenge myself. I want to get closer and closer to the action. I want to be able to control weightier variables now. I want to just recruit you, and I don't get to coach you or get to put your train on the tracks. I want to be
Yeah.
a part of everything.
Yeah. I mean, to the point of like Keith Abney, right? Somebody that is gonna hear their name called in April in the NFL draft. And I mean, you're somebody that again recruited him,
Mhm.
coached him. What was that process?
He's a dreamer. He's like
Yeah.
me. He thinks the world of himself. Like I got a piece of paper. The start of last year, I had people write down all their career goals. And Keith's career goal was win the respect of my teammates, become a full-time starter, Thorpe Award, All American, All Conference. The only thing he didn't get was the Thorpe Award.
Yeah.
But how he viewed himself was how I view myself. And so when you find a kid, like people say all this Texas stuff, like I'm not just going a billboard to every school in Texas. I am sniping Texas.
Yeah.
It's not about a talented kid. It's finding the right kid with this shit. You find a kid with this shit, he's gonna make it.
Yeah.
I'm not betting against Keith Abney. I promise you. So for me to go get Keith Abney 8-9 days before signing day, he's committed to Utah State, and this was his Power Four opportunity. Keith treated this place like it was Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia. So opportunity isn't everywhere. Talent is. Keith is in the most talented, rich state in the state of Texas, and the only offers he had from the state of Texas was Texas Southern and Rice.
Yeah.
So it made me feel so much better when he's balling in the Big 12 and all those Texas schools overlooked him. That kid was in your backyard.
Yeah.
So everybody can chase the 5 stars because Keith played across a 5-star that went to Ohio State, and he was the runt. So when I got to Arizona State, like I care about football player. I don't care about the internet. I don't care about 5-star. I don't care about none of that. I care about at the end of the day, are you a good football player? And Keith Abney was a good football player that played receiver, DB, returned punts, didn't come off the field. So I knew at that time with NIL being a little bit volatile and a little bit new in the space that I wasn't going to be able to have the bag to drop on people.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to find a really good football player. And so Keith was a really good football player. So I really don't get caught up in all the height, weight, speed. Obviously, there's certain thresholds you want to get to.
Yeah.
But when you find a kid that's obsolete, that has it, I'm all in on those type of guys.
I love it. And I think there's so much of that one example in this university over the last several years. And as somebody in yourself that's gone from some pretty major schools in terms of like historically college football, right? The USC, the Texas, the TCUs. When you did get that DM from Dilly all the way back then, what was it about whether that DM, the conversation, the first time you met Dilly, to where in your mind it was like, yep, this is the next place that I can unlock the things that I want to achieve?
Yeah, so at that time, Dilly was at Florida State. I was at Texas. When I was an intern at the University of Houston, I knew that the networking of college football was insane. Even just from Houston, from Clay Helton used to be at Houston, from Kevin Sumlin to Tom Herman, just Houston used to be such a springboard. Dana Holgerson. It's a lot of people that have had success at Houston. They were given the keys to a Power Four program. So I knew all it takes was one person to believe in me to get a job and take me with them. When I was at Texas, I was more so at the front porch of college football. I was visible. Everybody kind of knew who I was, which kind of led Dilly to kind of jump in my DMs just off of like, hey, I need to know this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I also knew who Dilly was. I'm not an idiot. I knew he was one of the youngest OCs in the game. So obviously this guy reaches out to me. Why wouldn't I want to continue to build such an organic relationship with this guy? I knew he knew of me, but I knew he didn't necessarily know me.
Yeah.
So we met actually at the coaches convention, like 2 years after that.
Oh, wow.
So there were several times that Dilly tried to kind of get me to kind of with him, whether it was him at Florida State or him at Oregon, and this coming through at Arizona State was probably like the third time's a charm type deal. So I'm a big time networker. I feel like it's all about people. I chase people. I don't chase logos. I love where I'm at. I don't necessarily. I'm not like lusting for a blue blood or logo or anything like that. I'm where my feet are. So I'm really more so about people. And I felt that there was something special about Dilly.
Something special to the fact there. It's obviously not a what's the word I'm looking for? It's in 2024. Everybody doubted this program. Everybody doubted Dilly. Everybody doubted the entire staff. Doubted the players. Thought you guys were going to be so much so that they thought you guys were going to be the worst of the Big 12. There's some bad schools in the Big 12. they thought you guys were going to be at the dead last. And you talk about the dreamers, you talk about the mentality and being wired in a way where it's like, I can do anything and I will do anything. Was that kind of what made that 2024 run like special in a sense? Is that there's always the talk of like teams and players got chips on their shoulders, people don't believe in them, but like they legit did something that nobody
I feel
thought
like
they could do.
it's the locker room. You know, when you first get here, the hardest part is taking over a culture, because when you get here, it's a lot of people shaking their head in them team meetings, and in the locker room shaking their head no.
Yeah.
And so when you're trying to cook dinner with other people's groceries, you have those type of issues. You know, so it took us a little moment to get our groceries in the fold. And when we got our groceries in the fold, that's why I said earlier, it's about the type of human that you're recruiting, not just the athlete.
Mhm.
That's what a lot of people drop the ball. I go get unbelievable human beings. The football is just something that they meet the threshold of.
Yeah.
But the good human component, that's all retention and all of that. The bait you use is the type of fish that you catch. So us during that transition, it was a lot of, you know, a lot of people succumb to all that shit on Twitter and whatnot, and the sky is falling and it's my last year. So obviously in college football, you have people that make selfish decisions.
Mhm.
And I say it's okay to be selfish in college football, depending on the hand that you're dealt. You know, so a lot of people, we couldn't just expect those guys to just be indebted with us going into year two after we finish 3-9. It is what it is. You know, if they want to leave, they want to leave. But it's our job to build Arizona State. It was our job to get more leeway to bring in our groceries. So they created an opportunity for us to go cast our net out wide. And when you bring in people to the university, you got to comb over them with a fine tooth comb. When I go on the road and I go recruit guys, I have a list. But then when I come off the road, I got to eliminate some people.
Mhm.
And I got to eliminate those people based on chemistry, compatibility. Like this shit is like dating, you know? I went on the road and I saw a kid, I'm walking in high school, and his daddy like, man, we ain't heard from Arizona State in 2 months. And I was like, bro, I ain't heard from you. This thing is like dating.
Yeah.
You know, like I've been on the road, I've been recruiting, this transfer portal is open. If I don't put
Yeah.
a product on the field, you ain't coming here anyway. You know, so a lot of it is like real talk. You know, like I told a high school kid, I got to be here now. I got to come back twice in the spring. I got to bring you on an official visit, involve steak and lobster, bring you back to a game. Then you want to put out a top 12, top 8, jump out of birthday cake, jump out of plane, commit. You better make sure that you recruit me not to go back in the portal.
Yeah.
Because that portal is grown men making decisions, and they're not BSing around.
Yeah.
You know, those are people that's been scarred, that's been burned, that now they're looking for the main dish. They're looking for the main course. They're looking for the main thing. They're not worried about the fluff, you know? So I think a lot of things is the type of person you recruit, not just the caliber of athlete. You got to recruit the human. You can't coach the player before you coach the person. The person is going to be in the building. The person is going to show up late. The person is going to be insubordinate. The person is not going to work hard, strain, do all that stuff. You got to coach people before you get to the player. So me, when I go on the road recruiting, I know that the person is more important than the player.
Yeah.
I'll go to a kid and he could be a 5-star and I tell him he ain't shit, you know, because the person he is, or, you know, I think the psychology of a lot of kids now is screwed, you know, because you got to make sure that you're getting a guy that's competent.
Mhm.
You don't want to get a guy that's spoiled before 18. A lot of kids are spoiled milk before 18, you know, and I don't believe in necessarily chasing unicorns. I believe in eliminating some of those guys, and some of the 5-stars, I'll spend the whole year talking shit to them. So when they transfer, we got them.
Look, there's a lot going on this weekend. Of course, the Waste Management Phoenix Open, the Super Bowl. You've got so much to indulge in, which is exactly why you need to give our friends over at Pure Edibles a call. Go stop at your local dispo, pick up some Pure Edibles because, well, they're going to make everything better. Maybe not your problems in life, but certainly going to elevate the experience of the Super Bowl, of watching maybe a good movie on TV. And my personal favorite part about Pure Edibles is that they don't taste like weed. I know that's an issue that a lot of folks run into when it comes to gummies, but that's not the case with Pure Edibles. They taste like candy, okay? They're offering gummies. They've got Kicks, their version of Starburst, Chews, soft candies like caramel, and then those hard candies as well. If you're in a home and you are looking for some Pure Edibles products. I know those ones are for you, okay? Make sure you go find yourself some Pure Edibles products from one of the over 130 dispensaries across Arizona.
Look, Mark and Alexis Breyer, they lead the husband and wife law team, and they want you to make sure that you know the lawyer you hire when life gets serious, it matters. And that's why when you call the number 602-783-8841, it's the right one, because that's the number that's going to bring you a team with hundreds of years of combined trial experience with multiple certified specialists in personal injury and wrongful death. Not only that, but they're happy to make you and all of their clients guarantees. That's right, guarantees. You can cancel your fee agreement at any time for any reason. You'll receive at least as much in your pocket as they receive for their fee, even if they have to reduce their attorney's fee to do so. You may speak with one of their lawyers as often as you choose about anything that you'd like to discuss, and you have the right to know that they will always, and I mean always, be upfront with you about all the strengths and the weaknesses of your case so that you can make an informed decision. So make the informed decision first. If you've had a serious injury, call the husband and wife law team first at 602-783-8841 or visit their website, the link in our show notes, and tell them that PHNX sent you.
There's a science to it, man. There's a science, and you've got a great technique. I think historically has shown that the types of players that you want to get, they tend to sign up to play for the school that you're repping at that given time. Obviously now Arizona State.
You want the kids to read the fine print now.
Yeah.
You can't coerce, get them to the altar and make them pop. Like, retention is so important that during the recruiting process, you have to measure that. If a kid commit 3 times and he didn't decommitted and now he interested in Arizona State, I'm like, I don't want you. You decommitted 3 times.
Yeah.
You know, this commitment gonna get old. You know, so it's like you got to make sure that the person that you're recruiting is solid. Is that a personality you can retain? Who's around him? Who does he listen to? Who are the people of influence? If the main influencer is barbershop talk, well, guess what? He's gonna try to hold you hostage every December,
especially now.
Especially now.
Man, I mean, look, talked a lot about recruiting. Transfer portal season just passed a few weeks back. It's gotten wilder. It's gotten crazier over the last several seasons. You talk about shopping, the entire defense looks different. Not necessarily based off the fact that a bunch of guys went and left, but more so a bunch of guys out of eligibility. They kind of had to go to the NFL. For you, now as somebody that isn't going to be primarily just with the corners, talking about the entire secondary as a whole, Lyric Rawls, Caleb Chester, Ashton Stamps, Josiah McGrew, what excites you about this new batch of DBs in the secondary?
Super excited. I mean, our secondary looks like a basketball court at this point. And that's kind of like what you want.
Yeah.
You know, we got a lot of length out there, you know, and we're like 8 deep at cornerback from a scholarship standpoint, similar to we only had 5 last year.
Yeah.
You know, so we got ideal prototypical bodies in those rooms. You know, so that's the exciting part. You know, and nowadays you have to stock the pond in college football. If you stock the pond, if you make those cornerbacks look like clones, then nobody can hold you hostage in December, you know, because you still have other bodies in that room. When you have outliers, that's how you get yourself in those type of situations. So I'm a big firm believer that nowadays you got to stock the pond. I believe that it's talent all across the country. If people want to leave. It's enough people out there that we can go find and evaluate somebody just as good, if not better, to bring into our program. I've 1000% believe that.
Yeah. Fewer spots in college football than there is players.
Yeah.
Right. How many players? There's, I want to say upwards of 4,000 or 5,000 players that entered the portal at the D1 level, and how many just are still.
Yeah, they're not going to play football anymore. Like, I feel like a lot of these kids are just going to crash out like child stars.
Yeah.
Like child actors, you know. A lot of it is, you know, now these kids are getting a lot of money now.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm more so the transition of, football is just temporary, especially in college. The transition of life afterwards with this portal and kids not getting degrees and kids making an exponential amount of money that isn't comparable to corporate America. If I made 500, you know, for 3 years in college, and now I got to work at National Enterprise and I'm making 60, you think I'm showing up at 9 a.m.? Get the hell out of here. Like, I'm, you know, I literally was making all this money to basically show up and ball and hoop, you know.
God, dude. How do you fix it? Right, and that's a larger question than just like you and I on this podcast of like, hey, let's shoot the shit and fix the broken college football calendar and NIL and the transfer portal. But like, real talk, it is broken. Like
Yeah.
the fact that you got a national championship 2 weeks after the transfer portal window even opens, you've got early signing day, which how much does the actual signing day actually mean anything at this point in time? Like bowl games, there's that whole issue. There's, like you said,
I got
players
a
get.
solution for bowl games though.
Let's hear it.
My solution for bowl game is get rid of all these Popeyes Bowl, the Shreveport Independence Bowl, the Idaho Potato Bowl. Get rid of those bowls and put a bowl game in London, put a bowl game in Sao Paulo, put a bowl game in Paris. You're gonna sell tickets. You're gonna make money. Kids aren't gonna opt out of those bowl games if you're offering an experience.
Yeah.
So if you're not in the CFP, man, put them bowl games in Tokyo. Put them around. And let's get corporate sponsorship. Let's get
Do it
brand.
that way.
Yeah, you'll make way much more money than playing in Shreveport, Louisiana. Nobody wants to go to Shreveport, but I might play in the Dubai Bowl.
Yeah.
You know, I might have an opportunity to brand myself out
The
there.
Dubai Bowl. Who's
you know?
sponsoring the Dubai Bowl?
Yeah.
Anybody? Do we know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin doesn't
Liv,
want to.
somebody.
Oh my goodness, man. That's it. I've never heard it that way. I've never heard that solution, but it makes sense given what you see like at the next level of like every year. It's like, okay, we're gonna put 2 games in Brazil. We're gonna put 3 games in Germany. Like,
You put all the bowl games there, it's so much better, and it's gonna be competition.
yeah,
Now, if you're not in the CFP, that bowl game is like a preseason game.
Yeah.
It's like the first game of 2026, in my opinion. It's not a win and loss record for the 2025 season. You got people that opt out, you got people that leave, declare, do what they got to do. You know, so really it's just an opportunity to play the young guys, see what
Yeah.
the young guys can do. You know, if we're playing in the Frosted Flakes Bowl or the Popeyes Chicken Bowl, you know, but I think you'll have a lot more engagement if you put some of these bowl games in London.
yeah,
You know, if Notre Dame don't make the playoffs and they get to play BYU in London, I think people will show up for that game. If
Yeah.
you can create a SEC Big Ten bowl game site that's in Paris, I think people will show up for those games, and I believe the purses will be a lot bigger than the purses offered in some of these lower level bowl games.
yeah. I mean, for you, just I was out there at practice. Like the corner room was decimated by portal, by eligibility, and not necessarily of like eligibility of like, you know, I'm gonna go test the waters. More so of like Keith couldn't gain anything
Yeah,
from playing in that
absolutely.
game, right? The safeties, like outside of Ghost, I mean Ghost played in the game, but
Yeah.
like Alford was obviously hurt. Boogie was dealing with his own stuff. So like it was a decimated secondary, and the performance overall, I think, like for lack of better terms, surprised a lot of people that thought that Arizona State was just going to show
Yeah.
up to El Paso
Against the
against
ACC champs with their quarterback and their receiving
Yeah.
corps, yeah.
Miami's next quarterback now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's what people
Yeah.
thought. So like I'm not gonna sit here and ask you like how'd you do it, but like what did you learn in that experience of having so many of your guys that you've been close to over the last several years that you could count on? Not that the younger guys you weren't close to, but they simply didn't get game action
Yeah.
over the time.
I think when you view that bowl game as the first game of 2026, it puts things in perspective. If we have these young guys on our roster and we're going to hit the portal hard, are we really going to play these guys in the game in September, or we're a little hesitant?
Mhm.
Versus this is house money. We're playing in the Frosted Flakes Bowl in El Paso. Let's put some of these young guys on this field and let's see what they can do now. Versus we're not going to see what they can do versus Texas A&M next year
Yeah.
in College Station. So we might as well give them an opportunity to have some live game reps. Or if there's a guy that's in the portal, why not give him an opportunity to showcase what he can do? That way he can have an opportunity to give film to other schools in the portal.
I mean, it's just college football is crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane. And versus like again, talk about how you started with you were just folding envelopes, right?
Yeah.
Or putting those spring schedules away and send them, and now you've got guys that are like 100K. I'm good. I'm gonna go see what I can get in the portal after not playing that much, right? It really is.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane, and it's a sport that I think is only going to continue to evolve and change and get more volatile until the NCAA actually cracks down on X, Y, and Z. Where do you feel like this staff, as it stands right now, not just with you, but with with Brian Ward, with AJ Cooper, with Hines Ward, and really all those guys. Where do you feel like you do something different than other staffs and maybe a more forward
Yeah,
thinking
it's
way?
simple as this. I've been in a lot of programs. At the bigger programs, it's 4th and inches every day in the college football playoffs, and it's the game on the line. Out here, it's 1st and 10 in a pickup game. Nobody gives a damn. But when we get on the grass, the type of players that we've recruited and evaluated from a mental standpoint, these guys want to work, these guys want to compete. A lot of people around the country are allergic to fun. You know, they practice with megaphones, screaming, yelling at the top of their lung.
Mm.
They're allergic to fun. They're uncomfortable with fun. Fun doesn't look like progress to some of these people. Kenny's mantra of have fun working harder than anybody in the country
Yeah.
is so unique of something that I've been around. Like Kenny's playing video games in the locker room. But then when we step out on the grass, he's the head coach.
Yeah.
You know, like we're really tight. We got really good relationships. But when we get on the grass, it got to be about the business. I feel like you can't get that right unless you're recruiting the right type of people.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't recruit the right type of people, the culture would not be able to. We wouldn't be able to sustain having fun if we didn't have worker ants. If we didn't have people that wanted to grind and get it out the mud.
The staff is crazy. It's obviously crazy in the best way possible. I think Arizona State fans understand that, and we could be real. Slightly crazy. You got to be slightly crazy. A little. It's almost like returning kicks, right? You got to.
You gotta have some shit in your neck.
Yeah, gotta be wired just a little different to not only do what you guys do, but to do it at the success rate and the level at which you guys do it. Continuing on, again, Bryan Carrington, assistant head coach for the Arizona State Sun Devils and defensive passing game coordinator. If you guys are just now joining us, BC, the relationship that you have with Coach Samples, I want to spend a little bit of time on that because I know when you guys first got here, you guys were different to Arizona State. Just I think the fan base in the way of like young, hungry, like connects with players, and then you guys were it seemed like just boys, right? So like, what was that? What is that relationship like between you and Coach Champ? And then what were those conversations like when ultimately he made the decision to leave Arizona State and go to Oregon?
I mean, I knew like shout out to Sam, but I knew it wasn't gonna last. Like every place I've been, I'll be telling people like people gonna come break this shit up. Like that was inevitable. It was the clock started the moment we got to Arizona
Literally.
State. Literally the moment we got to Arizona State. You know, Sam's a dreamer just like myself. You know, a go getter. You know, like don't take no for an answer. Like we're gonna put the work in,
Mm-hmm.
type deal. So us coming to Arizona State was a lot of behind the scenes. Like we're gonna go to Arizona State together. Like I was at TCU, we just made the national championship. Like they're getting ready to offer a multi-year deal to stay at TCU, and for me to leave to come with Dilly and Samp, obviously there's a lot there.
Yeah.
You know, more so than a walk away from a program we done already laid that foundation, getting ready
Yeah.
to build the mansion. You know, and I pack up and leave. You know, a lot of that is a testament to Dilly. Obviously, the demographics of Phoenix is a place that's also luring.
Mm-hmm.
Luring. You know, I just feel that when you have two people that had such a strong report in the state of Texas and people that'll vouch for us and send us players,
Mm-hmm.
you know, me and Sam got to tell people no. You know, like it's a real deal.
Yeah.
You know, especially in year 4. It's easy year 1. Hey, come on. Now it's like, hold up, slow your races. I got to make sure that
It's the right fit.
we thoroughly vet this. But I mean, it's inevitable. I feel like me and Sam also have aspirations to be head coaches. A lot of that will kind of take you through some journeys,
Mhm.
you know. And I think he's at an unbelievable position. Me and him being assistant head coaches. You know, he's at Oregon, you know, playing for championships, and with Dan Lannon, it's a lot of clout and a lot of validity that comes with being attached to what's going on out there. So I feel like that's the best for his career. I feel like at this point, for me and Sam, I feel like optics are more important than us being a tandem,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and being together right now. The optics of us continuing to vertically integrate, get more titles, get more responsibilities is the goal right now in our careers.
The NCAA is at any point always going to find a way to keep you and Rashad Samples away from each other on the same roster. It's too difficult, clearly.
Yeah.
But what I will say is there weren't a lot of places in my mind in the realm of, I guess, talking heads, of you lose Rashad Samples and it's like your candidate list is only going down.
Yeah.
Hines Ward steps through that door and everybody's like, well,
Yeah.
there you go.
Mhm.
What have you learned from somebody who's played the game at the absolute highest level that now, I mean, your coworkers?
Yeah, Hines is dope. You know, that was a pinch yourself moment. Like, you know, like my boy is my
Yeah.
wide receiver coach, and then we get a new wide receiver coach and this freaking gold jacket, Hines Ward. I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. You know, just to watch him. You know, a lot of people have been pros, and Hines don't have to be a part of this. Hines could be playing golf and mixing
Yeah.
tequila with lemonade every day if he wanted to. You know, but I know he's a guy that cares. He's a guy that wants to coach. He's a guy that's about motivating players. He's a guy that loves this process. So to see us recruit guys, knowing that Sam got Jordan Tyson, I didn't want Jordan Tyson neglected. Now, you know, he came in for Sam. Now Sam's leaving. You get Hines Ward. Hines Ward kind of like neutralized anything, any all possibilities. You're
Yeah.
gonna listen to Hines Ward if he's your wide receiver coach. So just from Tyson being able to learn from Sam and Hines, I feel like took him to an entire new level, you know, especially from a blocking standpoint, you know, like Jordan.
Yeah.
Usually wide receivers are all finesse, but Jordan will get his hands dirty, you know, and he'll kind of, you know, play those mind games from a blocking standpoint. So I'm excited about our wide receiver room. You know, obviously I want to compete against the best. I feel
Yeah.
like Keith's development and Jordan Tyson's development, you know, that iron sharpened iron when nobody was watching. They were sharpening each other. To continue with what we've done in the portal this off season and what we on both sides of the ball, I'm excited for the competition. We've created, you know, an opportunity to where we're going to have so much competition on a Sunday through Friday standpoint that we might not see that level of talent on Saturdays, and that's a big deal. You know, if we can have, you know, guys like Amarion Miller, you know, guys like Reed Harris competing against the corners that we got, and then we're getting to sharpen every day for 15 practices in the spring and to do it in the fall, and the work that these guys are doing separate from us, this is a year where we can really put a stamp on what we're trying to build here, and that is exciting.
Let's talk about some of those offensive guys for a second here, because it's the defense got some names from some schools too, but I think the offense, in terms of like what a fan sees, that was okay. They got their wedding cake with Reed Harris, Omarion Miller, with Cutter Boley, with Marquise Gillis. Some of these guys, those tight ends as well, like Jermaine Mitchell, who was part of the early signing day. Who, if he would have been in the transfer portal, people would have been talking a different type of way about the offensive
Facts.
line.
Yeah.
What in God's green earth did you guys just build offensively in Tempe?
It's exciting. You know, I feel like the season is also a lot, goes a lot into the variables of how you attack the portal. You know, so I feel like in losing Jordan Tyson, we can't BS. We got to go get some gas.
Yeah.
We got to go put something in the engine that we can get with it. You know, losing Sam is unfortunate. You know, but us being able to go get Cutter Bowley, who was all SEC freshman team, and then
Yeah.
go get Mikey, who's thrown for almost 9,000 yards. That's literally nirvana
Yeah.
for us. And just to touch on that, I feel like for Arizona State and my outlook is for the future, it is going to be hard to have a franchise player in college football for 2 years. 2 years, they're going to succumb and go to a blue blood school. That's why I'm a big advocate of you don't necessarily chase them, you replace them. You know, so to go get those two caliber players back, you know, to our roster, what we got at the receiver room and running back room. I mean, I'm excited to see these guys develop. You know, you rarely get that kind of experience in the guy that from Fresno State,
Yeah.
Mikey King, who came and torched us 29-0.
Yeah.
You know, like
With Jalen Moss
with
on the
Jalen
other
Moss.
side.
with Jalen Moss. So like it's a lot of like the buddy system. You know, Jalen Moss is excited that Mikey's on this team. You know, so like there it is again. It's so many different webs. You know, to where the retention is a lot more easier here than acquiring talent.
Yeah, 1000%. So who's the starting quarterback? Nah, I'm just fucking with you. Like,
We're gonna find out.
I know that's something that everybody's gonna be super excited for. It's spring. I think this fan base, has really, really almost engulfed itself in Arizona State football since that 2024 run.
I'll say this: I'm being impressed by our fan base. Like I've been around some rowdy fan bases, but since I got here in December of what 22, fan bases, I offer a kid and I see our fan base all under there and putting the gifts and retweeting and tagging me and stuff like that. So like it's a lot of it's more fans than you would expect,
Yeah.
especially from a social media standpoint. All of
1000%.
our players got them Glazer accounts or whatnot. Watching, like, hey,
They do, man. They got
how many guys got a Glazer account? I can't get a Glazer account.
After this, you are 100% going to get a Glazer account. That's 1000% what's going to happen. There are some crazy ones, man. They posting every day. Like I saw one the other day with the Prince Dorba one. I feel like is super active. That one was posting the other day of like a 2026 NFL mock draft, and it was Prince Dorba, Jordan Tyson, Keith Abney, and then everybody else on it. Yeah. So, well, asking you shall receive. I'm sure the fan base will do you some justice on this one, man. Look, I think we could have this conversation like literally all day, and it would never stop. But again, as somebody you got a lot going on, a lot on your plate, traveling a lot with work. You're somebody that I think there are a lot of people that could learn from. What would you say is the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
The best piece of advice I've ever received. Longtime Steelers scout Mark Gorzak. I was at Texas. You got to think about it. I went to Academy at midnight the year Texas won the Rose Bowl and got a shirt and put it on my shirt and wore it to school. And huge Texas fan, huge Ben Sean fan. So I'm at Texas. I'm the director of recruiting. I'm like year 4 and I'm fanboying. I'm like, yeah, it's Texas. And I'm with Mark Gorzak and he's like, hey, man, you're going to have to leave Texas one day. And you're going to have to leave Texas and you're going to grow so much from leaving Texas. And I was like, damn, you kind of put a thorn in my side, and it set with me, And actually, when I got the assistant head coach title, he wrote me a letter. He just wrote me a letter and was like, "Man, you've been that same guy from Texas. You've grown a lot, or whatnot." So I would say that's one of the best advice I've got because once you get comfortable, and growth stops, And I'm a guy that likes being uncomfortable. If I wasn't really uncomfortable after 5 years at Texas, working the director of recruiting role, now it's GM and all this other stuff. I wasn't uncomfortable. I was comfortable. I was good. I was kicking my feet up. This opportunity is something that really challenged me, that I got to continue to grow and continue to learn, scheme, football, stuff like that, but the relationship aspect, that stuff's not going to change. Relationships is the easiest part, getting the knowledge and teaching. That's really where the joy comes from now, with whether I do cahoots and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of it is really just me trying to teach, me trying to find ways for guys to learn.
Well, look, I'm sure a ton of folks, they got to take something from this conversation, man. I certainly have. With this, what advice, or not advice, what would you say to the Arizona State fan base ahead of spring football and ahead of what I know a lot of folks are really already excited for in early February is the 2026 football season?
Yeah, we're working nonstop, man. This is premeditated, trying to build a program. We want to build a program that there is, expectations outside the program. Obviously, internally we don't care about that, but from a recruiting standpoint, I do care about that from a marketing standpoint and how people perceive this program. And we're going to continue to chop away at how people perceive this program. But just know we're not just chasing magnets on the board. We're chasing first and last names of good human beings that want to work, that want to be Sun Devils. Nowadays, we don't want mercenaries. We want guys that want to be Sun Devils.
Heavy stuff. This Arizona State fan base is going to love it. Again, Arizona State assistant head coach Bryan Carrington. Bryan, we appreciate you taking the time today, man.
I appreciate you.
How could you not love that guy? I mean, honestly, and the fact that he was here for so long, you guys got into so much. What was your biggest takeaway? What stood out to you the most?
That Arizona State isn't going to have Bryan Carrington for long.
Well, now I'm sad. Come on, man.
Look, what I will say again, and he is, like he said, he is present where his feet are at right now, and that is, of course, in Tempe at Arizona State, helping build this program the right way, building it into a consistent powerhouse in college football. But I feel confident saying that Bryan Carrington, at some point in his career, will be a college football head coach sooner rather than later. But that is going to do it for today's episode of the PHNX Sun Devils Show. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Again, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast on your way out. And if you want to follow the show for more content like that and others, well, give the show a follow at PHNX_Sun Devils on social. That is X, TikTok, and on Instagram. You can follow me at Anthony_Totri. You can follow this guy right here, the lister, Professor Oates, Senor Rubis, at Erik Ruby. That's Erik with a K. And make sure you tune in on Friday because Rubis and I, well, we're going to be taking a listen to what some of the ASU football returners had to say at media availability. That's right. We're talking CJ Fight, Jason Brown Jr., and so much more. But in the meantime, go Devils. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.